All right, so this is where we left off. We're in the middle of the raft, and we'll finish the raft in this uh, video, 25, 30 minutes, something like that. But um, I don't remember if I showed you this slide. I probably did, but I'll just say it again. And I really should add something to the end of this. This slide really should say it's never too late to heal a broken relationship, and it's usually hard, but it's always worth it. Um, and some of you maybe have never really had this experience. If you were typical teenagers, your main strategy for resolving conflict has probably always been avoidance, running away. You ignore it, you pretend like there is no conflict, or you just walk away from the friendship. But that's no way to live your life. If you're going to have good relationships in your life, you have to be able to reconcile relationships because conflict happens. And so one of the things that I like best about this reconciliation project is so many students who come back and say, it actually wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, and I'm so glad that I had that conversation. It was a really good thing. And I've seen like friendships actually reestablished just because of this school assignment. And so, yeah. All right. So anyway, we're talking about the raft, and the second log is affirmation. Appreciating people appropriately. And talking about appreciation, can you just appreciate for a moment that I found a photo of a raft with 4 logs that I could use for this illustration? This is actually a pool toy. I found a website with inflatable pool toys that had this pool toy that was a raft with 4 logs. So yeah, anyway. Appreciating people appropriately who have helped you. When you affirm others, it makes it easier to say goodbye. It just kind of, it even if you don't feel the need to affirm others, if you do affirm them and you appreciate them and you say thank you and all of that, it helps bring closure to leaving one place, because you feel like you've left well. You feel like you're not leaving any loose ends behind you. Okay, it does. It makes it easier to say goodbye. So we're talking about family members, friends, teachers, coaches, helpers, mentors, others, whatever people you're leaving behind as you move on. If you're Filipino and you're staying in the Philippines, it's all the staff at Faith Academy and maybe your teachers and things like that. If you're leaving the country, it may be people like the guy who drove the van, who brought you to school every day, or the guards at the gate of your subdivision, or your helper, or the gardener, or whatever, the barista at Starbucks, the guy who cuts your hair, all kinds of people who have done this. When you graduate from high school, you are celebrated, and rightfully so. You've done a lot of work to achieve something significant. Graduating from high school is, you've accomplished something great. But stop for a moment and think about all the people who have helped you achieve that, who have helped you get to this point in your life, including, whoever washes your clothes and puts them back in your drawer, who fixes your lunch every day, your driver, all of these people, the secretaries at school. Several years ago, I was preparing for this class session, and I asked the secretaries in the high school office. I went to Ate Mars and Ate Rose, and I said, when students graduate and leave, how many of them come in and say thank you to you? How many of them come in and say thank you and goodbye? And they said, oh, usually about 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that. And I find that really awful, honestly. Think of all the ways those 2 ladies have helped you in high school. They're the ones that prepare your class schedule. They're the ones that give you late passes. They're the ones who will print your diploma. If you've ever received an academic award, they're the ones who did that. If you need your transcript, if you're in university a year from now or 6 months from now and you need a copy of your transcript, they will be the ones to send you your transcript. Some of you have taken tests after school in that little office back there. I mean, so many ways that those two ladies have helped you. And out of a typical class of about 60 students, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 go in to say thank you to them. I just find that very shameful. Um, and since ever since I went in and I started saying this every year in my transitions class, now it's more like 10 or 12. So, I still find that shameful. Every single one of you has benefited from the service of those two ladies. Have they ever complained? Do they ever get annoyed at you? Do they ever get, frustrated or anything like that? No, they're always pleasant, always helpful, always, with a smile, helping you every single time you need it. You should affirm them. You should appreciate them. You should say thank you to them. And if you say thank you to them, I mean, you should do it just because it's the right thing to do. But it will actually help you as well as you prepare to leave this place, okay? You just say something like this. You've meant a lot to me. Thanks for being a good whatever, okay? I mean, not like this. Don't memorize this. That would be awkward. But you just tell them, you know what? I just wanted to say thank you. You've helped me a lot through these last couple of years, and I appreciate that. And you can give a small gift. I can tell you from experience, every time I leave the country and come back, I bring a pasalubong for Ate Rose and Ate Mars, and they love chocolate. And I don't know if they eat all the chocolate they get. I think they probably take it home and feed it to their families, but they always appreciate it. Just a little token. This is a thing. I need to delete this slide. I say this every year and I keep forgetting. This is from a movie called Real Genius, and he hates his teacher. The teacher hates him. It's a long story, but he's leaving, and he leaves this small gift for his teacher of an apple. He's his teacher, right? So here's a nice apple. He drops it in the trash can, and yeah. Anyway. It's not worth the explanation, but it's what came to mind when I thought of giving a small gift or something. Okay, but you can other better small gifts. You can give a photo of yourself. I don't know if anybody would want that. Flowers, food. Okay, just not an exploding apple. Okay, the third log in your raft is farewells, saying goodbye in an appropriate way. Okay, so when I say appreciating people in an appropriate way, saying farewell in an appropriate way, it depends on who the person is. So you're not going to say goodbye to your ate at home who has been with your family for 12 years the same way that you're going to say goodbye to the guard at the gate, or the van driver or something like that. You say it in an appropriate way. The guy who cuts your hair or something like, some of you may remember Laura Akers. And she always went to Starbucks up at Robinson's Antipolo. And I never go into Starbucks at Robinson's Antipolo. But I had a gift card. I went in there one day. This is probably, it was the next school year. So it was at least several months after she had graduated and left. And so I'm standing in line. I order my drink. And the guy taking my order, he says, "Excuse me, are you at Faith Academy?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a teacher there." He said, "Do you know Laura Akers?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What happened to her?" I said, "Oh, she graduated. She's back in the United States." He said, "Oh, okay," and he went on with his day. I mean, he didn't start crying or anything like that, but she went in there, as far as I understand, almost every single day. They knew her name, and then all of a sudden, bam, she's gone. If she had taken 10 seconds the last time she went to that Starbucks and said, "Hey, just so you know, I've graduated and I'm leaving tomorrow to go to the States, and I just wanted to say thanks. this has been, I appreciate you guys here. You've made me a lot of good coffee or something like that. And then there's a bit of closure that maybe she never even realized that she needed. Maybe she didn't need it, but it's still a nice thing to do to people. I'm not criticizing Laura, I'm not saying that I would remember to say goodbye to the baristas. I'm just using that as an example of somebody who all of a sudden, somebody that they knew who came into their Starbucks all the time was gone, and they never knew what happened to her. So say goodbye. It could actually be a source of guilt potentially later. I remember talking to one graduate who had come back at Christmas time and said, when I left, I forgot to say goodbye to our ate, our helper. And he had actually felt guilty about that and was, glad to come back and tell her how much he appreciated her. Okay, so there are two kinds of farewells. There are people. So with people, say goodbye and do it well. And appropriately. So the way you say goodbye to the lady at the V is obviously not the same as you're going to say goodbye to, your beloved teacher, Mr. Hong. Maybe, no, I'm just kidding, but, just whatever. Say goodbye and do it well. Don't just be like, oh, okay, see you, bye. Because some of you remember that phrase, quick release response? It's a characteristic of third culture kids that you've said goodbye so many times and it has hurt so many times that you end up with this way of saying goodbye where you're like, okay, bye, and you walk away and you don't look back and you don't think about it. You have this compartmentalization, like you shut that off, because to open it up and leave it open is painful sometimes. And so if you are one of those with a quick release response and you say goodbye and you walk away and you don't really think about it very often, you still need to say goodbye and do it well. Okay, don't just flippantly say goodbye and walk away. That conversation I described with Laura at Starbucks would have taken like 15 seconds. I'm not talking about like anything like that, but like your best friends, you would want to spend more than 15 seconds and more than 5 minutes. Maybe you go and do something together, that can be really important. Some of you have already told me in your journals that you feel like you are disassociating with your friends, and I just want to say again, it doesn't work. You do it subconsciously because you think deep down someplace that if I'm not close to these people when I leave, it won't hurt as much. But the opposite is actually true. It will hurt more if you neglect those friendships in the months leading up to saying goodbye. Okay? And then you leave and it still hurts, but now you have regret and guilt for having neglected them. Okay, so if you feel like you're that person who's disassociating, you need to stop yourself from doing that. Okay, you will be glad that you spent those last couple of months staying close to your friends. And yes, it will hurt a lot when you leave. It'll be painful when you leave, but it will actually be less painful than if you cut those friendships short now. Okay? And let me just say this now too, since I'm thinking about it. Speaking of cutting friendships short, some of you have already left. So some of you watching this video, you're already in Korea, you're in the US, maybe somewhere else, I don't know, but you've already gone. Okay, so how do you say goodbye? How do you find closure? How do you say farewell to these things that you left behind? Maybe you left the Philippines intending on coming back, Maybe you left and you thought, okay, we'll be back for the school year, but the school year never happened, so you just stayed in Korea or wherever you are, and you never had a chance to really find that closure by appreciating people and saying farewell. I would still very highly recommend that you do this by email. You can still say thank you to Ate Rose and Ate Mars in an email. and it will still mean something to them. I know those ladies very well, and they will be touched by that, and they will feel appreciated if you take the time to say something to them like that. As far as saying farewell to your friends, hopefully you're still seeing them. Like, hopefully you signed up, if you're in my World Lit class, you signed up for a World Lit reading group together, and you're still spending a couple of hours a week. One of the reading groups told me that after they stop the recording, they stay online and keep just chatting and catching up, and I think that's terrific. I love that my class gives you an opportunity to stay connected like that. But if you've already left, I really want to recommend that you make plans to come back. Try to make plans. I mean, maybe not this week, but sometime in the next couple of months, try to make a plan with your friends that you'll meet back at Faith Academy. You know, after this pandemic blows over, after everybody's vaccinated or whatever, and the Philippines is open for visitors again, that you say, hey, you know what? Let's all meet back at Faith Academy for, you know, in such and such a time. You can come at Christmas if your family's still there, and you can all be up at school on New Year's. You can do stuff together. You could come, you know, during a school break. You could come in the summertime. And I mean, it's nice if you come while school's still in session. You could come for graduation of a younger sibling, and just to come back and visit and see your friends and make that plan. You guys could make a plan. Go to Siquijor Island. You know, if you guys don't get to have a senior trip at all, make a plan to come back. It's not that difficult to get to the resort in Siquijor Island. They pick you up from the airport at Dumaguete and take you right to the resort, you know, and you can have that experience not in a different way than if you'd had, you know, all 60 of your classmates there for a senior trip. But, you know, but here's my point. Make a plan now, because right now is when it hurts. Right now is when it's painful that you're gone and your class is like all over the world and you can't be together, and it sucks. It really does. And that might be causing some of you some heartache right now. Maybe something that feels like homesickness. And if that's the case, then make a plan. In May of 2022, let's all come back for graduation, and we'll go to the beach, and, you know, we'll, you know, do all of these things together, and making a plan, and then that gives you something to look forward to. It gives you a year and a half to save your money if you need to save $1,000 for a plane ticket. And yeah, I don't know. I was trying to brainstorm. I was talking to my wife, like, how can these students who have already left have closure? How can they really find closure when they were yanked out of the Philippines, thinking that they would go back and finish their senior year, and they never got to go back? That's the best thing I can think of. Make a plan to go back and meet your friends. Try and get your friends to make a plan together. The friend group that's like TJ Hardiman and Garrett Henderson, Jason Ishak, Grady Fleming, those guys, they made a plan to all meet back in the Philippines, and they all came. This is like 2 or 3 years ago that they all came, but their little friend group, about 6 of them, they all were there together again, and they spent like 2 weeks. They went all over the Philippines and did this stuff, and, you know, something like that. All right, moving on. So 2 kinds of farewells: people and places and things. Okay. I don't know if you like Mang Inasal. I like Mang Inasal. When I go to eat out in the States, like just going out to eat after church. We came home today it's Sunday. We came home today after church, and we ate leftovers for lunch. And my wife made the comment, wow, we just saved $40. And we did, because like that's how much it costs to eat out here. $40 is like, what's $40? That's like I mean, we can eat out for like, we can actually, the three of us, my wife, me, and Kai, we can eat out if we go to like In-N-Out Burger for like $25. But still, $25 is like, I don't even know, that would be like $50. That would be like, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500 pesos, something like that. A place like Mang Inasal where you can go and for like 110 pesos, you get some nice chicken, you get all the rice you can eat. When you're done, you're full. It was delicious. You know, it's quick. Uh, you might miss that in a couple of years. Some place where you can get a good hot meal with rice, and it wasn't super expensive. Mangoes, you know, I used to really have strong disdain for Mexican mangoes. Like I refused to eat them, but we've been here so long, we're like stuck in this country, and so my wife started buying these Mexican mangoes, and I tried it. I was like, all right, I'll try some, and I had it. And I was like, eh, it's all right. You know, they're Mexican mangoes are like Indian mangoes. You know, the ones that are green on the outside, but you cut into them and they're yellow on the inside, orange on the inside. That's what Mexican mangoes are like. They don't have that nice, soft consistency on the inside. So, you know, while we're stuck here, Mexican mangoes every once in a while are fine. But like, I don't know about you, but I love Philippine mangoes. They're my favorite fruit in the whole world. I can't wait to get back and have some bananas. I refuse to eat bananas in the U.S. I just won't. They're always disappointing. A good Lakatan banana, nothing like it. Um, have some. Have a banana before you, if you like these kinds of bananas and you're going to Korea or the Philippines or something like that. I'm sorry, Korea or the United States, the Netherlands, wherever, China, you can't get bananas like this. And so stock up now. The Filipino people, I don't know how you say goodbye to the Filipino people. You know, happy, smiling people. I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but every time I come back to the Philippines, when I'm in baggage claim at the airport, like I just arrived back, always there's some Filipino. He's like the baggage guy. He's somebody there. He smiles and says, "Good evening, sir." You know, something just that smile and that friendly. When I go to Korea, Koreans are mean. Like Koreans are really mean. I should say this. If a Korean knows you, they're the nicest people in the world. They're hospitable, they're generous, they're friendly if they know you. But if you're a stranger on the street, man, Koreans are mean. They are not friendly at all. And so when I spend a couple of days or a week in Korea, and it's like, oh my goodness, these people all hate me. And then I come back to the Philippines, I'm in the airport, and the Filipino workers like, "Hello, sir, good evening," you know? I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad to be back here. If you can figure out a way to say goodbye to the Filipino people before you leave, man, that's good. Okay, this is terrific. Our neighbor is chainsawing a tree that he cut down the other day. I hope you can still hear me all right. I'm not starting over. Saying goodbye to the malls. This is Mega Mall. I don't even know if you can go to the mall now. Can you go to the malls? I have no idea. But if you like the mall, if you like going there, my point is go to these places that you like. Buy the food that you like, and just have like one last. You're like saying goodbye to Mang Inasal. You're saying goodbye to Mega Mall. You're saying goodbye to whatever. You know, Ramanagi. I don't know if you like Ramanagi or not, but like all of the ramen restaurants in Manila, we love. They're all terrific. We've had ramen like 6 times in the U.S. and it's awful. It's always not ramen like mommy, but like ramen in a restaurant, like Ramen-Nagi or something like that. It stinks in the U.S. It's expensive and it doesn't taste good. I can't wait to get back to Manila where I can get a good bowl of ramen. Okay, if you like ramen and you're coming to the U.S., man, you better have some Ramen-Nagi before you come back to the U.S. because you're never going to have good ramen here. Also, if you like stuff like this, if you like Lucky Me Instant Pancit or Chicken Mommy or something like that, if you like the Korean noodles and you're coming to the States, you better buy some before you come. If you're a Korean and you're going to university in Canada or the United States or something like that, man, fill a whole suitcase with Korean noodles. You will be so glad that you did. Um, if you're near a big city, you'll be able to buy Korean noodles here, but you'll be shocked at the price. So I think it'd be worth it. Those little flat packs of Korean noodles, you'll be so glad that you have those. Take those with you if you're coming to the U.S. Okay, I gotta move on. Traffic. Is anyone gonna miss the traffic? If you are, then I don't know. Go sit in traffic for a while. This view from the soccer field. Maybe, I talked about having one last time with your friends, saying goodbye to your friends. Go up to Eagle's Nest. Go up to school and sit on the soccer stands and watch the sunset together. Take some pictures and, do something together. If you've already left the country, Skype with your friends. Go online with your friends and have them, hey, can you go up to Eagle's Nest? And, they can turn their phone around and show, here's the sunset tonight, something, I don't know. Farewell, saying goodbye in an appropriate way. We're also talking about pets. I guess I already kind of said these things. You're going to say goodbye to your dog if you love your dog. I'm not worried about that. But I did want to mention things at Faith Academy. Okay? If you've been at Faith Academy for a while, then take a walk through campus. If you're still in the Philippines, maybe you've stayed at home. Maybe you haven't been up to campus since the quarantine started last March. I would really recommend that you come up to campus at some point and just walk around. Take some pictures while you walk around. If you've been here since elementary school, go down and slide down the big long slide, and walk around. If you played sports, if you played soccer or something like that, walk around the fields and just don't look at it from behind the fence. Go and walk through the grass on the field, and just reminisce and think about those good times. Take some pictures. Walk around the middle school halls. When's the last time you walked around the middle school halls? Get into the gym if you can. If school's open and somebody can let you into the gym, go get into CAD theater if you can. Find somebody who will open CAD theater for you and go and stand on the stage and look out at the seats and think about all of the amazing experiences you've had there, and just spend a moment being thankful and saying goodbye. That can be really meaningful sometimes. If it was me, I would want to do that by myself. Maybe you want to do that with some of your friends. But whatever, I really recommend that you do that. Anyway, do your favorite things. All right? And the fourth log, oh my gosh. Regarding your stuff. I'm going to finish this, so we may leak over 30 minutes. We definitely will. Sorry I've been so wordy. You can't take everything with you when you leave, obviously. It's not going to be there with you. So take some things. I really recommend that you fill a shoebox with just mementos and things, and take it with you to university. And while you're there may be a day when you're feeling homesick, where you miss your friends at Faith Academy, where you're frustrated because you feel like, man, I've been here for like 3 months and I don't have any friends and nobody understands me, nobody gets me here. Maybe that would be a day that you want to take down your shoebox from the shelf and open it up and look through whatever you have in there. Do I have, pictures, stuffed animals, souvenirs, whatever, something that might be a nice memory for you later. Pictures that you have in your cell phone. If you have a chance to go around school and take pictures, do that. You may never look at those pictures again, or maybe your friends will say, hey, what was your school like? Do you have pictures? And if you're like, no, I don't really have, we can go on the school website. Well, that's kind of lame, If you have a folder in your phone with pictures from Faith Academy, you can say, yeah, here's what my school looked like. And they're like, oh, wow, man, I was picturing like grass huts and stuff. That's really nice. You know what I mean? Having those things. And if you've already left the country and you don't have some pictures, ask a friend to go up and take some pictures for you. They would do that for you. Um, and then they'll have those pictures themselves as well. Okay? Um, but then every once in a while, pull that box down, look through it, smile, maybe cry, uh, whatever kind of mood you're in. And then when you're done, close the lid, put the box back on the shelf, and go on with your life. I mean, don't. I'm not suggesting that you take it down every day and that you sit there gazing into your box every afternoon, you know, wishing you were back at Faith Academy. Not that. That's unhealthy. Okay, but every once in a while, having something that reminds you of your experience at Faith Academy can be meaningful. Okay, think destination. Preparing for the inevitable. This is where the acronym gets a little bit awkward, but yeah, it's a mode of transportation. It's a raft. So here we go. Now, some of you may be right here, right now. When people say, wow, can you believe we're graduating in like 3.5 months? You're like, oh, I don't want to think about it. Don't talk about it. Okay? But you guys, honestly, that's childish. Okay? You're graduating from high school. It's time to grow up. It's time to start behaving like an adult. You're in this transition. You're not a child. You're not an adult. You're somewhere in the middle. But more and more, you need to start behaving like an adult. You need to start taking adult responsibility for things. When you're a child, you can ignore things. When you're a child, you can be like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And just ignore your responsibilities and the things that you really ought to do in life. When you're in high school, if you don't want to do your homework, you know, I'm not going to do that. If you don't want to study for a test, I'm not going to do that, okay? But honestly, that's very childish. And as an adult, you can't just say, I don't feel like doing that. That doesn't work as an adult. It doesn't work in a job, in a career. It doesn't work as a husband or a wife. It doesn't work as a parent. It doesn't work as a college student, okay? Yeah, it's time to grow up, honestly. If you find that you're still behaving like a child and you don't want to think about what's coming and you don't, you know, you're like, oh, senioritis, you know, I don't have to do this. I'm clinging to my childhood. I'm taking this last opportunity to be irresponsible. You know what, you guys, grow up. Really, it's time. This is not a healthy attitude. This isn't going to help you at all. Okay? Because you must think about leaving. You need to think about leaving. You need to think about where you're going next. At least enough to be prepared for it. Okay? So how do you do this? You need to know where you're going. You need to know something about where you're going. Now, some of you are going someplace that you know very well. Maybe your family lives in Sinchon and you're going to Yonsei, so you're like, I grew up there. I know everything about that city. Fine. Maybe you're going to a university and your older sibling has already gone there and you know everything about it. Fine. But I promise you don't know everything about it. But also some of you I know are going to places that you've never been. Maybe you're going to a university and because, you know, you're in the Philippines, you've never even visited that university and you don't know anything about it, okay? Now, I'm going to give you an assignment that's called the City Research Assignment. It'll be posted with this assignment, unless I forget. But the City Research Assignment, even if you're going to a city that you know very well, I still want you to do that assignment. It's just a little bit of research, making some maps and stuff like that about the city that you're going to. I'm sorry, you guys, this is getting really long. I got about 5 more minutes, okay? Maybe 8. What was I just going to say? Oh, in the City Research Project, please follow the instructions. If I say I want a hand-drawn map, then draw that map by hand, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to take points off, all right? There's also going to be a Google Street View assignment, okay? And the Street View assignment is from my own experience. About 7 years ago, there was a Korean student who was going to the Chicago Art Institute in Chicago for university. She's Korean, and she was terrified. She was talking to me one day after class. She was like, all she knew about Chicago was it's this big, dirty city with all this crime and gangs and murders and stuff like that. Because all she knew was like Hollywood movies. And the only one she'd seen apparently was where like people are getting shot and stuff like that in Chicago. She was terrified. And I knew the Chicago Art Institute. I'd walked right past it. It's down by the art museum. And I said, no, 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 no. That's a really nice part of Chicago. And so Google Street View was brand new. So I said, come here, look. And I sat there on my computer and we went through Street View and we walked down the street from the Chicago Art Institute all around it and then down about 3 blocks to the apartment building that they used for dorms for the Art Institute. And all along the way there, the elevated train is right there, and the stores along the side. It's like Saks Fifth Avenue and Macy's and stuff like. It's like a shopping mall, but it's like the street. It's outside, and nice restaurants and cafes, people sitting out at tables on the street and stuff like that. And she was like, "Oh, that's really nice." I said, "Yeah, it's really nice." And just that 30 minutes on Street View really. It eased her anxiety about going to a place that she didn't know anything about, okay? And that's my purpose for those assignments, is for you to know something about where you're going so that you won't be anxious about it, so you'll know what to expect and stuff like that. I'm going to have you do research about churches nearby, campus ministries, stuff like that. Yeah, nobody's ever done these things. I will say this. If you're going somewhere cold, like if you're going to Seoul or Canada, man, you need some winter clothes. Like I just lived through winter here and it's freezing cold and I'm in LA. It's so cold here. So, I mean, really, you'll have time there, but at least you need to know that you're going to have to buy winter clothes. When Lindsay first went to Illinois State University, it started getting cold. It was like September. She's like, "Dad, I'm so cold. I need a jacket." I was like, "Oh my goodness." It was like 50 degrees. I was like, "You have no idea what's coming." And she got used to it. She called me yesterday and she said, "Yeah, it's -6 today." I was like, "Oh man." So, just be aware of the things that you're going to need for where you're going. Financial matters, you'll talk to your parents about stuff like this. I mean, there's so many things to consider in sending money. How are they going to get money to you? All right, all of that. Oh, and that's where we're done. Okay, sorry for the super long video, but I wanted to finish the raft in this video and do that. So again, you guys, if you leave well, you're just doing everything you can to enter well. You still might not enter well. You might still struggle with your entry into wherever you're going next. But at least you've done the things that you can do to at least leave well and hopefully make it a little bit better to enter well. And maybe make it a lot better to enter well. Okay? So, reconcile your relationships, even beyond the 3 that I've assigned. Reconcile all of them. It's not worth it to leave behind those loose ends. It's not worth it to leave. I know people who are like my age who have left behind a trail of broken relationships throughout their lifetimes. And can I tell you, they're just like bitter, angry people. And nobody likes to be around them. And when they were teenagers, you think they set out and thought, hey, I want to be a bitter, angry old man that nobody wants to spend time with when I'm in my 50s. Nobody sets out that way, but some of you are on the path to being that bitter, angry old man, bitter, angry old woman because you've never learned how to reconcile relationships. And when you have a problem with someone, you just walk away. You have another problem with someone else, you just walk away. And that is no way to live your life, okay? Reconcile your relationships, affirm the people you're leaving behind, say farewell, say it appropriately, say it well, and think destination. Think about, I'm going to make you do a bit of research about where you're going next, but really spend some time and learn something about where you're going next. And I'm finishing right at 40 minutes.